presented by Seat77.com. As always, Dave Dabbah is coming to you live from the Super Plus Seat 77 broadcast studio in the heart of Silicon Valley. Now, Dave Dabbah.
Good afternoon, North America. Producer Buck, have we got a huge show for everyone today. We've got reasons to not eat at Papa John's Pizza anymore, and it involves Peyton Manning. We've got the NBA trade deadline looming. We've got the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit edition is out, but not with just one cover, Producer Buck. No, not with just two covers, but with three covers. And lastly, Roger Goodell makes more money than God. All of that and more on the big show today. Info at seat77.com. Send us your emails and we will read them on the air come Wednesday. Also, we are blowing up North America. You can find us on TuneIn Radio, as well as, I gotta say, our iTunes channel is starting to blow up. So subscribe to the channel there and leave us some comments if you like. And lastly, we are now on Stitcher. So check out the big Dave Dabbah Big Show on Stitcher. Okay. We also have more bad news around Peyton Manning. You know, Mr. Squeaky Clean Peyton Manning. And for years, I have suspected that Peyton isn't what we think Peyton is. And if you look back, and if you do have a chance, and you have some extra time like I did last night to read the 74-page document that was filed, the Chapter 9 lawsuit that was most recently filed, it's some pretty, just like, some intense stuff there. I mean, I have a ton of children, lots of daughters, and if anything like this ever happened to my daughters, where they're actually, you know, they're helping out a football team, and then one of the star football players decides to stand up on them and then show them their genitals and stick those genitals in their actual face, I think there'd be a lawsuit against me for getting in a big fight with this jerk. I mean, how else can you look at this lawsuit? And if it is true, which, by the way, it probably is, how else can you look at this other than to say, scrap your nationwide insurance and never buy another piece of Papa John's pizza, and don't go to Omaha, at least until Peyton Manning actually comes out and admits to what he did. This is just a terrible story. And when I read it, I just was in just, Producer Buck, just total disbelief. Like I mentioned earlier, I'd always kind of looked at Peyton from afar, and I've always, you know, I knew this small little cloud had been hanging over him, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But after the Al Jazeera HGH story, which just came out a couple weeks before the Super Bowl, and Peyton Manning, what did he do, Producer Buck? When Peyton Manning was on the fence and somebody was saying that you took HGH, he got up and he stood up and he emphatically said, I did not do that. And where is that in this sexual harassment lawsuit? At this point, I think the Mannings and Peyton Manning, as well as several members of the Tennessee coaching staff and administration, are guilty of a mass Producer Buck cover-up. And that's what I have to say about Peyton Manning. Okay, so elsewhere, we're going to try to lighten things up a little bit now. So elsewhere around the wonderful world of sports, I don't know if you heard about this, though, Producer Buck, but there will be not one, not two, there'll be three Sports Illustrated covers for the swimsuit edition this year. And what's interesting about this is that they've gone with, you know, the typical super hot model, Haley Clausen, and then they've also put in what I consider to be another hot model, but just a full figure, somebody who's a little bigger. Ashley Graham is the full figure Sports Illustrated model. And then, of course, they went with Ronda Rousey, who is the third person in the Sports Illustrated cover. So I'm not sure if you heard about Ronda Rousey on the Ellen DeGeneres show. But apparently, after Ronda lost her fight, she actually considered killing herself, which is a really serious subject. And I think, for Ronda, she believed all of the hype that was Ronda Rousey. She actually believed it. And when she lost and she got knocked down, when Humpty Dumpty fell, she didn't know how to pick herself up. So luckily, she actually was able to pick herself up and didn't do anything ridiculously stupid. So if you have a chance to do check. It's funny. I'm plugging the Ellen DeGeneres show. I mean, Ellen should be plugging the Dave Dabbah Big Show. I'm just saying. That will be the day that the Dave Dabbah Big Show's made it. But instead, I'm plugging Ellen. So check out Ellen. It's actually a good show, and I do sit there and watch it periodically with the wife. So Producer Buck, I got to tell you this quick story. So I go, to buy a present for the wife for Valentine's Day, and I kind of, as you know, kind of go over the top. It's it's the flowers, it's the candy, it's the nice handbag. But so I asked her. I said, "Hey, babe, what would you like for Valentine's Day?" And she goes, "I would like satin covers for my pillows." And I said, "Satin covers for the pillows?" She goes, "Yeah, satin covers for the pillows." And I'm like, "Well, why satin covers for the pillows?" And she goes, "Well, because they prevent hair loss and they're really comfortable." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to her and I'm looking at her and I'm like, why am I just hearing about this satin pillowcases can actually prevent hair loss? I mean, where was this like 5-6 years ago? Why am I just hearing about this now as I look at Rogaine as an alternative? I could have just got satin covers for my pillows. So anyway, so I go to the best store in the world, Bed Bath & Beyond. And so I go on and I find the satin pillowcase covers. And I go to check out and there's just so busy. There's just packed with people. and I hand the guy my purchase and he looks at me and I said, "Well, look, I asked my wife what does she want for Valentine's Day?" And she said, satin covers for the pillows. And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, they prevent hair loss." And I was like, why am I the first person to hear about this? I mean, look at my hair. Look at how much hair could have been saved if I had just had satin covers for my pillows. And I brought this up, and actually everybody in the line broke out into laughter, and it was a sad day for me. Okay, so elsewhere around the world, we have 2 more quick stories for you, and I know Producer Buck, it's supposed to be a short show, so we will get out of here quickly. But first, we do have the National Basketball Association trade deadline is right around the corner. And the big names on the block are always the same big names on the block. Carmelo Anthony, Al Horford, Dwight Howard. I mean, Dwight's always on the block. And this year, we're adding Blake Griffin to the other big name on the block. It will be interesting to see if any of these big players move. Now, if any of them move, I would have to predict that it's actually going to be Dwight Howard. I think you're going to see a lot of other small moves, players you haven't heard of before, will be moved between now and the 3 p.m. East Coast deadline on Thursday. But I do expect Dwight Howard to be moved. You heard it here first on the Dave Dabbah Big Show. Okay. Info at seat77.com. We will read your emails on the air on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. One last quick story for you. I don't know if you saw this, Producer Buck, but it is fantastic. Roger Goodell makes a little bit more money than we do. All right, so let's start with his base salary. $3.5 million base salary for Roger Goodell, which I have to say feels a little low. I mean, if you're running a $1 billion company, $3.5 million does feel a little low to run a $1 billion company. That being said, with his bonus and all the other little perks, Roger Goodell's grand total for his tax filings in 2014, because I couldn't sleep last night. The new kitten in the house was just jumping all over me, back and forth, back and forth. So what did I do? I said, well, how much money did Goodell make? So I went hunting, and the answer is $34.1 million in 2014 is what Roger Goodell took home. I don't know about you, but a lot of us are just happy to bring home the .1. It's unbelievable money that Roger Goodell has made. So the question is he worth it? Is Roger Goodell worth basically $34 million a year? And surprisingly, this might surprise you, but I think he's worth every penny. And in fact, if he made $50 million to steer the ship that is the National Football League through all of the storms that he's got to steer through, he's got to avoid the Titanic from bumping into those big icebergs and falling down and just sinking to the ground. I think Goodell does a fantastic job of preventing that from occurring and at the same time allowing the National Football League to grow. I would, however, like to see a team in London at some point, Mr. Goodell. But let me know what you think. Info at seat77.com. Does Goodell make too much money? I say no. Oh, and by the way, no more Papa John's for any of you until Peyton Manning actually comes out and makes a public statement about what happened back in 1995. All right, Producer Buck. All right, I'll finish this up. iTunes, subscribe to the Big Dave Dabbah channel there. Stitcher, or on Stitcher, that is if it's not down. Subscribe to the Big Dave Dabbah channel there. Info at Seat77. Thanks so much for tuning in all right, Producer Buck, we're out. For the Dave Dabbah Big Show, I'm Dave Dabbah, reminding you that not everyone can be a champion, but everyone can act like one, Cam. And good luck, North America.